UiPath has got two design experiences. One is the classic and the other is the modern design experience. As an RPA developer, we should know both the experiences, how to use what. In this playlist, we are covering the classic versus the modern design in a step-by-step manner where we are focusing more on the modern design. In the previous videos of the playlist, we have covered already all of these topics. In case you are absolutely new to modern design and you want to get started, you can refer to the playlist and get started.
Today, in this video, we are going to see that in case I am working in an enterprise level project and I have to use the UiPath modern design experiences, how do we work efficiently with the open and the close applications, right? Just to give you the background, in the modern design activities, we have seen that whenever I have to use any application, I have a single activity which is called use application / browser, which is used to handle both the application as well as browser. So if you are a developer who is coming from a classic experience, you would have seen that you used to have two activities. One was the open application and one was the attach application. However, in the modern design experiences, you only have one activity both to do the open as well as the attach, right? So people who are experienced developer, you would understand that in the INIT All settings, right? If I go to my project, this is so a classic developer used to use both the activities and then used to write the automation efficiently. However, when I started doing this modern playlist, now I am getting that questions regularly that how do I handle this open and close with a single activity, and that is what we are going to address in this video. Okay, so let's try to define the use case. Okay, so I have my robotics enterprise framework in front of me. For the people who have no understanding of robotics enterprise framework, I have a dedicated video where I have explained all the robotics enterprise framework in a step-by-step manner, both with the queues and without the queues, and also we have created a end-to-end use case, right? So please refer those videos in case you are absolutely new to UiPath robotics enterprise framework. Okay, so this is our robotics enterprise framework. So what typically we have to do is we go to initialization and we open the application in here, which is this block. Let me just come down. INIT All application. Here we have to open the application, and then into my get transaction I get the data from the queue, and then we process them one by one, right? So that is how the robotics enterprise framework work. Okay, so today let's say I have an application which I have to automate, which is a WI application. This is just a plain exe which I have taken. Okay, and this we have to automate and we have to put some data into this. Now, since this is a robotics enterprise framework, what I have done is in advance I have created a queue, and the name of the queue is WI queue, and you can see that I have got 9 items in them, right? So let's say my dispatcher has already completed and you have the 9 items which are available in the queue, right? Now as a developer, you have to write an automation to feed this data into this application in a step-by-step manner, and you have to make sure that this application opens and close, and we are going to use the modern design. Okay, so first thing first, right? This is my application. So I'll go to the initialization, right? And here we would have all the configs and everything, not going into the nitty-gritties of the robotics enterprise framework, right? That's not the agenda. So the first thing is in the initialization, I will straight away go to this one, which is called the initialize all application. I'll go here and I say open the workflow, right? You can think it of your own application, and here we have to write the code to open the applications, right? So I'll go to the activities, and if I just say open application, right, since we are in the modern design, so you are going to directly get this activity, which is the use application / browser. Drag and drop it here, and that should have this wizard for you, right? So I want to open this application, so I'll go here and I say indicate, and I'll just point it to this application. Okay, now I'll just close this, go here, and I say run the file. Okay, and we can see that the application was open, and at the same time the application was also closed, right? And that is a problem, right? If I go here and I say run the file again, right, see what happens. So the application get opens and it is closed automatically, right? However, if I'm doing a real-time automation in the INIT All application, I would like the applications to be open so that my process.xaml could utilize the same application, right? But why this is happening and how can we prevent that? That is the first thing, right? So if you see here, we are trying to open this application. If you go to the properties, right, these are all the settings which we have already defined. In here you have something which is called options, and in the options you have two things, which is the close and which is the open. So these are the two properties, guys, which you have to use intelligently to make sure that your automation can handle all these scenarios, right? So if you see here in the close, right, if I keep my mouse, you would see that define whether to close the target application after it is executed or not. So if I go here, you would have three options: never, if opened by the browser, and always. So as of now, it is always closing the browser as soon as the activities are done. There are no activities, so it is getting closed. However, in the INIT All application, what I would like to do as a developer is that I would like to hold this application. So what I'll do is I'll say close and I'll say never, right? Let me save this, go here, and I say run the file, right? I'm just running INIT All applications, right? So now what should happen? The application will now open and UiPath will not automatically close this application. So this was the first issue which you have asked me, that hey, I have opened the applications and now as soon as I come out of the scope, it is getting closed, right? Because of this setting, right? Now this completes the initialization, right? So we have initialized it. Now what a developer will do, then he will go to the get transaction data. Here we are going to read the data from the queue one by one and we are going to get the transaction data. So I'll open the get transaction data. Okay, no changes here. We just have to specify the queue name, right? So it's already queue folder and queue name. Let me go to the project in the data and I'll open the config.xlsx. Okay, again repeating, guys, we have already covered all of this in the RE framework, so I'm not spending much time on the queues and all, right? So in the queue name and the queue folder, we'll just specify where our data is. So my data is in this folder, which is the unattended folder, and my queue name is WIQ, right? So I'll just mention that in the queue folder, I'll say unattended folder, and let me quickly check the queue name as well. The queue name is WIQ. Okay, let me check for the extra spaces. Okay, save and close. Okay, so now what would happen in the get transaction data, all these data would be read one by one, and in the process transaction we have to process all these data one by one, right? So I'll open here the process transaction. Here it says process the items. I'll say open the workflow. Okay, and here we have to start the process, but before starting the process we would have to get the data from the queue. So I'll go here and I'll take a multi-assign activity. Okay, let me quickly check what data I have in the queue, view the details, and I have the cache in and the honest check, right? So I'll just copy these values. I'll create two variables here. Okay, And now all we have to do is read the data from the queue. How do we read the data from the queue? We just write here in transaction item dot specific content cache in dot toString, and that will give me the value for the cache in. And similarly for the honest check, I'll copy this, go back in transaction item dot specific content, right? That's the syntax, guys, and provide the honest check dot toString and save, right? So now for each and every transaction we will get all this value here, right? Now what we have to do in the application, we have to feed the values into this, and let's say we click on this button accept, right? So I'll go to the activities, and now again, since we have to feed it, we are going to use the same activity. We use application/browser, and now I just go here and I want to point it to this one. Okay, if I save this and let's go here and try to write the data, right? So first we want to do a type into, so I go here and I use an activity called type into, drag and drop it here, indicate on the application, type it on the cache in field, right? Not doing the complete automation because our agenda is to just see the opening and the closing, right? So what do you want to type? So I want to type here cache in, that's it. The same thing I'll just quickly do for the second input box as well. WI, honest check, UiPath modern design working perfectly, and honest check. And then what we want to do is we simply want to, let's say, click on the button. So I'll go here and I take a click activity, and that completes the automation, right? Just 3 activities. Take a click activity, and let me just try to click it on the accept button like this. Okay, and that completes my transactions, right? Again, the rest steps you guys can write it along by yourself, right? Now if I just try to run this as it is, okay, let me go here and I put a breakpoint on multiple assign maybe, right? And let's try to understand it from the beginning. Okay, so as of now this application is open. Let me just close this. Okay, save this and I say debug the file. Okay, let's see what happens. So in the INIT All applications, we have told UiPath to go and open the application and keep it open. Okay, so let's see what happens. Process started. Okay, and it has opened the application. We can see the application. I say step into, and then here it has to type, right? So you see here now it is going to type the same into this application. Type into the first value, right? Step into the second value, click accept, and the new transaction number generated. And now if I say continue, that transaction would be marked as successful, right? And now what would happen, this will come again for the next run. So I say continue, and you would notice that now it is coming for the next run. So here if you see, my use application slash browser is not opening the second instance of the WI, right? Because it was already open, this use application slash browser is using the same instance of this application and trying to utilize it for all the transactions, right? Now sometimes what might happen is that you are writing an automation and it is reopening one more instance, right? Let's say for this one it does not open, right? It is trying to use that. But let's say you are writing some automation where it is opening an instance. So here what you can do is you can simply go to the properties, and in the open you can say never, where I am telling UiPath that don't open this application from this activity. One more better option is if not open, and it's on the safer side, right? Check if that application is not open, then only go and open that application, right? If it is already open, use the same. If it is not already open, then go and utilize it. Okay. Now, one more thing here. After this processing is done, right, there are some application which you would like to close. As soon as the transaction is done, you would like to close that application, let's say for some session management or anything, right? So what you can do is you can go to the properties here, and in the close you can just say always. Now what would happen? Let's see. I'll save this and I'll just again run it in the debug mode. Okay, and as of now I'm manually closing this. We'll talk about this in a bit moment. So fresh automation now again running. It will fetch the next transaction. Okay, INIT All application will open the application. Okay, it has opened the application. We are in the process XAML now. Step into, and here we have mentioned if it is already open, use the same instance, right? So it is trying to use the same instance. Step into, and we have mentioned that once you are done with the operation, close the application. Step into, okay, done with this, done with the use application, and at the bottom you would see that the application is not available. Step into, done, and now if I click on continue, what would happen? It will go and it will get me the next transaction, right? Now the application is not open. Step into, and now here if you see in the properties, we have mentioned that open only if it is not open, right? So now the application is not open. Step into, it open the WI application and it inserts the second value. I say step into, it inserts the second value. I say step into, it accepts it, and then as we have instructed, it should go and close it, right? So you see here, as soon as the transaction is completed, if you want to retain it, you can simply go and say do not close. If you want to close it, you just say close, right? So that is how you can use these two properties and make open and close, right? One more thing which is a best practice, and you guys must be knowing that in the initialization, right, you have something which is called kill all process, which we have already discussed in details in all the RE framework videos. That here we usually write the code to kill the application in the first instance, so that whenever the automation is starting, it gets a fresh environment, or I would say the application has no issues, right? So here you are not supposed to use the use application / browser. In this one you have to use this one, which is called the kill process, and you simply kill the process. So in our case it is WI, right? So in the kill all process, you are going to use this activity, which is kill process activity. Okay, now the same concept is applicable if I just go to the end process here. In the end process, we have this one which is called the close all applications.xaml. right? So in the close all application, how do I close the application, right? So there are multiple ways to close an application, and let's say, let me just open this application first. Okay, so let's say once the transaction is successfully completed, as we have seen in the process.xaml, the UiPath modern design has an activity which is called the close and done, right? It was automatically closed. Let's say there are some application where you want to close explicitly by using the close all application, right? So here you can write a code to close this application. Now the code can be as simple as that, where you say that use application slash browser, okay, and attach it to the WI instance. And here, because this is the close all process, in the open it should be never, right? I never want to open any application here. And in the close mode, I would always like to say that if it is opened by the app browser, right, then only you close it, right? If it has opened, you can close it, right? That is also an option. Cut. And in the close, I can say always, right? That means that if this guy has opened it, it will close automatically. But let's say this guy has not opened it, then there is no sense of closing. I can simply use a click activity, drag and drop it here. So this is in the close all applications, guys, right? Just a fallback mechanism to make sure that the application get closed. So here I just point and I say confirm, right? But the important thing here is that in the open property, you have to say that I am never going to open it here, right? Because you never want to open an application just to close it, right? And in the close, I would say always close it in case by default it's open, right? But your actual close logic will apply here only. So I hope that makes sense, right? Just a quick recap, guys. You have a single activity, use application slash browser, which is available in the UiPath modern design to take care of both the attach as well as the open. So in the initialization, whenever you are trying to open an application, it can be anything. In our case, it was a WI application. In the open property, I have left it to blank, right? Where I am saying UiPath that okay, open the application by default. Wherever in the close, I say never, because this is the initialization. If I close this application here, it won't be available for the other states of the automation, right? But in the process.xaml, when I have to actually process the application, here I have changed the properties to different, where I say that open, if it is not open, let's say by something happened to the application in the init, it was not able to open, some exception, some network related issues, then only open it. And in the close, if your application you want it to close every time, you can close it, otherwise you can tweak it as per your requirement, right? But the idea here is you can change the settings. Next, we have seen that in the kill all process, we are not going to use because it is cleaning of the environment. So it does not make sense to use the use application slash browser. Here we have to use the kill process. And similarly, when you are using this automation in a close, when you have to close the application gracefully, you will just try to attach that application, right? And open is never, because I don't want to open it here. Close, I'll say always, and then inside I will write the code to close the applications, right? So this is how you use the use application slash browser intelligently in the UiPath modern design, so that all the transactions are processed one by one. Okay, so now if I go to the main, and if I just go here and I say run, right? So now what should happen? It should go and process all the items one by one, right? So let's see here. Okay, so the application has opened, right? It is now processing the items one by one. transactions completed, reopening that, because that's what we have told in the process.xaml to close it, right? In case you want to retain the session, you can simply set that to as your requirement, and it will continue for all the other transaction without getting into the difficulty of opening and closing it separately, right? So I have put, I think, close to 10 transactions. Once the automation is successfully completed, it will simply go and close all the applications. Okay, so I can go here and I can say stop. Okay, that is it I wanted to cover in this video, and I hope you guys have now a clear understanding. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well, right? If this was helpful, please do subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video where we are going to discuss more details about the modern design experience. Thank you for watching and happy automation.
Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.